ending. So kick back and listen, it'll make your grin. Every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah.
What is happening, folks? It is that Wednesday night time again. How is everybody doing this hump day, middle of the week? Fire's still burning here. Can you smell it? Hear the fire crackling? And the echoes of Monday's warnings haven't even cooled. But the mailbag is full, and the Watchtower's lantern is lit, and it's time to open the scrolls. This is Wednesday night at Pilgrims Great Chronicles. Robert Clark, your host, where your questions, comments, and smoke signals get dragged into the fire, decoded, and sharpened like a blade. I am your guide, your fellow traveler, and your occasional sarcasm dispenser. And tonight, we're answering the call of the remnant. That's y'all. I appreciate you coming here and hanging at the end with us. So pour your mead, buckle your armor, and brace yourself, because we're not just reading feedback. We're navigating the fallout. And it is an interesting bag today. I don't think I can go all the way back into everything I wanted to read from a couple of weeks ago, simply because it would take up too much time, and I've had a long day at work. Yes, sad. I know. My sob story. Work is hard, but we all got to do it, right? And so let's get right to some of your emails. I've got this keyed up for something somebody sent in up here in the upper left, but I'll magnify it so you can see it and hear it better when it's time. But first, from someone called The Truth Puzzle Life 5394, says, "Wow, brother, I'm so glad I found your channel. I, as well, live in Oregon, Eugene to be exact. Love your content. Be blessed, my friend, in Jesus' precious name." Man, I love the encouraging ones. It's, I would say it's so rare, but here lately, I've had a lot of encouraging emails and so on. So that's good. And I've told you before, I honestly don't mind the ones that are, sharpen me and help me to stay on my toes. So welcome, fellow traveler from Eugene. Glad to have you with us. I don't know if you read my comment back to you, but I don't live in Oregon any longer. But I did spend a lot of my formative years, primarily in Beaverton, a little bit in Tigard for a bit when my dad first moved out there and started working for Floating Point Systems years ago. And I went to Aloha High School part of my sophomore year. Well, no. My junior year and my senior year. Part of my junior year and all of my senior year, I went to Aloha High School. After moving back to Oregon, because I've lived there off and on. As I told you in a previous stuff, some of my other videos, my background story, like I've said in some of the people that have interviewed me, we moved sometimes twice a year, sometimes not for a couple of years. I remember going to grade school for the same grade school in Michigan. We lived in Portage, Michigan. And we lived in Kalamazoo for a little bit in an apartment till my folks bought a house in Portage. I still remember the house. I still remember the address. And we lived there in that house for right around 3 years. And it was really I remember walking to school in the snow. We were there for the blizzard of 76. So pretty much instantly overnight one weekend, we got like 4 feet of snow and 8-foot snow drifts. We woke up to opening our door, and our screen door was completely covered with snow. My dad literally had to take the window out of the screen door, dig his way out to our van, and I mean, it was crazy, but we had a blast. And I want to say we might have got out of school for a couple of days, but once they got the streets plowed, we walked to school and went to school, and if, I promise you, if we got 4 feet of snow and 8-foot drifts in Tennessee, we'd be crippled for a month. But we wouldn't go anywhere. Nobody would do anything. We'd all be, huddled in our homes, trying to survive. And just knowing it was coming, you wouldn't be able to find milk or bread in a store for miles around. It's just the way we are as humans. But either way, welcome to the show. The more the merrier. So share it. Let other people know. We're always trying to grow, get our outreach out there, because the more the merrier, and because people need to know this information. So please share, leave a review, that kind of thing. Really helps us out. Every time you like a video, every time you share a video, every time you comment on a video, what it tells the algorithm, and I hate having to do this, but it's the way of things. It's not like the Wild West anymore on these things like YouTube or Rumble or whatever. They constrict everything. Like some of my videos that should be getting more views, like right now I'm arguing with YouTube over a promotional video I did where they're throttling it because they're not accusing, but they tag it and say that my video promotion is in violation of electioneering ads. I don't do politics much, and I have nothing to do with elections in the U.S. or anything like that. So I don't know why YouTube chooses to throttle my videos in a deceitful way like that. And I can tell you right now, if any of you are a creator at all, it is like swimming through molasses to try to get them to review it and change it. It's very complicated, and it's not very obvious what you have to do. You have to dig to find out who to contact, and I don't know, it should be an easier process, and I just think mistakes like this shouldn't be made. But it's what happens when you automate filters that restrict speech. I get you need to protect some things, but sometimes you make the filter so strong you wind up blocking good content. But maybe that's the objective. Anyway, that is why I'm slowly shifting over much of my video to Rumble, because I just have a feeling that YouTube is eventually going to give me enough strikes to get rid of me. So that is why I stream the audio to every major thing like Spotify, Apple, you name it, Spreaker. And I've started doing videos, uploading videos on Rumble. So if you want to be able to view the content that people send in, you need to watch the show on Rumble. And I always try to put the link for that in the descriptions from now on. And I need to update my YouTube profile so it reflects that I have another thing. And I'll need to do that once we get our YouTube thing set up. And that'll probably make it easier for everybody to comment and get content. So, and all right, so we have next comments from You'll Know Them by Their Fruits. I wonder if this has anything to do with Jeremy. I mean, I guess that's a pretty common Christian type thing to put. But anyway, so it says, so I wonder why Jesus told his apostles that when they hear of wars, rumors of wars, etc., not to be troubled, because all those things must happen. Truly, I tell you, this generation will not pass till all these things be fulfilled. If those things weren't going to happen for 2,000 plus years. Yes, and this is in response to Satan's little season theory debunked. And I have since, that was one of my main videos I put out early on, and I have since thought of other things, and I really addressed this issue in the video, so I'm not sure why this person didn't, maybe I'm not understanding what they're trying to ask, but here's what I responded. And it's a little bit lengthy, so hang in there with me. It's not super long, but it should be read. So I said, thanks for the comment, friend. You're asking a question many have wrestled with. One we dug deep into in our JT's mixtape episode. in the follow-up video on which generation Jesus meant, because I literally took somebody's transcript who is who's a person, JT follows JC, is a great guy and a brother in Christ, and I think he does a top-notch job on a lot of things. I just disagree with him on what he thinks is the resolution for the issue of all these strange timeline events, structures, some sort of mud flood cataclysm or cataclysm of some sort. He thinks that it's the result of a preteristic view. In other words, all the Revelation stuff prior to Revelation 20, where Jesus comes, or Jesus annihilates Lucifer and his humans that have followed him via his deceit. And they encircle the camp of the saints, and basically the Lord annihilates them with fire instantly. Doesn't tolerate it. Anyway, I said you're welcome to pull up a chair by the fire and give those a listen. We tackle this very topic head on and verse by verse. I've done about 4 or 5 videos that have mentioned the SLS theory. And by SLS, I mean Satan's little season. So I said, let's consider a few thoughts that may help clarify. Prophets often spoke to their audience, but about far future events. Think of Isaiah 9 or Daniel 12. Both addressed people in their own time, but prophesied events hundreds of thousands of years ahead. Speaking in the present tense to a local audience is common in prophetic literature. It's not deceit, it's design. Jesus' words were for their ears, but not just for their generation. In Matthew 24:33, Jesus says, when you see all these things, not since you're already seeing them, right? So the emphasis is conditional. The generation that sees all these things, including cosmic ones, global persecution, and his visible return, that generation won't pass until all is fulfilled. I went over this in our last Monday show when I was discussing the red heifers, which, by the way, I read somewhere, I want to say Derek Gilbert posted it on X or Twitter, where even the last few red heifers of those 5 from Texas have now been disqualified. I'll look that up to see, but if that's the case, then we got to find new red heifers, because those are all disqualified now. That is my understanding. If I'm wrong, please put it in the comments and let me know, but I think that that is the case. So I also wrote that Jesus had already said many would not understand until the end. In Matthew 13:17, he says, quote, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see but did not see it. And even then, most wouldn't grasp it fully. The full unveiling was meant for those upon whom the end of the age would come. 1 Corinthians 10:11. So Jesus even hinted at that the fulfillment might be long delayed. If you read the parables right after the Olivet Discourse, right? For instance, the wicked servant says, my master delays, Matthew 24:48. The bridegroom is a long time in coming, he says, Matthew 25:5. And then the master returns after a, how long time? A long time, Matthew 25:19. All 3 warn us the delay is part of the plan. And let's not forget 2 Peter 3:8-9. I've mentioned it a number of times, where people scoff because of what seems like a long delay in Jesus' return, right? And the Lord is not slow in keeping his promises, but is patient, not wanting anyone to perish. So yes, Jesus spoke to his disciples just like the prophets before him, but his words echo through time to the final generation, the one who will actually witness all these things, not just a few. And I mentioned the fig tree generation in part of that. So, yeah. If you believe the fig tree is an allegory for the nation of Israel, then it also fits with that whole thing. So, yeah. And just to circle back, for those still wondering why Jesus would say all this to that audience if it wasn't going to happen for 2,000 years, well, the answer's in the language and the signs he gave. First off, that word generation in Greek, genea, doesn't always mean a strict 40-year period like we think of today. In fact, depending on context, it can mean a type or a kind of people, like the rebellious or faithless kind, not necessarily the one right in front of him, or even an entire family line or race that carries through time. So when Jesus says, this generation shall not pass, he's more likely marking the kind of people who will be around when all these signs take place. Or better yet, he's identifying the generation that sees the signs he just listed, starting with the fig tree generation. And so that fig tree, it's not just some random botanical analogy. Throughout Scripture, Israel is repeatedly symbolized by the fig tree. Hosea 9:10, Joel 1:7, Jeremiah 24. And so when Jesus says, when you see the fig tree bud, he's pointing to the rebirth of Israel, which happened in 1948. Some would say, and I think I may agree with them, that the real budding didn't happen until 67 when Jerusalem was recaptured. That's the generation, in my opinion, he's talking about, because it also fits with the other, like we said, that the implication of a long time when he gives his parables, right? And the prophecy of 2 Peter, where it's like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you keep talking about Jesus like he's coming, but he's not, and he's never coming back, and things just go on like they always have from the beginning when the fathers fell asleep, and so on. You get the idea. It's pretty clear they were expecting a long time, plus all the early church father writings and so on. And anyway, a lot of people get into this thing of quickly, I come quickly, those verses. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but anyway, shortly, or in takia, in quickly, taki, in Revelation, in the Gospels, don't mean soon necessarily like Jesus had a deadline and missed it. They mean when it starts, it moves fast, kind of like saying, once this kicks off, buckle up, right? It's not about necessarily when it starts. It's about how rapidly it unfolds when it actually does. So in modern terms, it's kind of like warning someone, hey, when the first domino falls, the rest are going to go fast, right? And fulfill, genomai isn't a flash in the pan word either. It means to come into being, to emerge, to unfold. It's like flipping a switch and more like watching the tide roll in. So no, Jesus wasn't misleading his disciples. He was laying out the prophetic blueprint, and it wasn't just for them. It was for the generation that sees the fig tree bud, and that's when the signs begin to converge. Just read it for yourself, you'll see. And that's when the warnings become reality. That's when you start looking up, and if you've been paying attention lately, the fig tree is not just budding, it's blooming. And I cover all of this in much greater detail in some other 3 or 4 different videos I made, and I touch on it in the most recent Monday night video. So it's all there. There was somebody I mentioned that I would send a transcript to, but I haven't received your email. So if you're listening, I have no way to send you the transcript unless you email me at pilgrimsgray@gmail.com. And remember, it's gray spelled with an E, not an A. So, all right, so another one from the puzzle life. In my 58 years of life, and spending most of it seeking the truth, I completely agree with your breakdown of all 3 stories and understanding of our time. I guess more easily, I'm on the same page with you in my researching. Blessings and protection in Jesus' name. Brian, yes, please pray for the protection of the show and for its outreach, because I can feel the attacks sometimes. I know these aren't just, I don't believe in coincidences. So when things go poorly, like echoes and delays and things that cause the show to be delayed, like tonight I'm delayed again, it's most likely because there's things that go on in this war, this seed war, even in small battles and skirmishes, where the enemy does their best to cause things to not go well. So always use your prayers. And that's a reminder for me to also make sure that we pray for the protection of not only us, but those of you listening. And that was a comment, by the way, in response to our markets collapse, war drums thunder, and the snitch witch hunt begins. A top 3 stories of the week. And anyway, thank you for the comment. Honestly, I appreciate them all. And I did comment to you, just so you know. I don't know if anybody ever sees me responding, but I do try to respond every time I can. All right, and Ivan. And yes, Ivan, I got your message on Rumble. I think it was where you mentioned just, call me Ivan or whatever. But yes. So Ivan says, we appreciate, it says at the Fockers or whatever. We appreciate the effort taken into making sure no audio issues. It was a very easygoing listen. And this is same video, same top 3 stories of the week. And I'd finally figured out the echo issue. I can't say that it won't necessarily happen again. I'm hoping it doesn't, because I'm experimenting with trying to add different things, like the ridiculous video at the beginning of this. I just made a quick little AI video of a guy playing the guitar at the intro. Anyway, so anyway, he said something is surely brewing somewhere. Next year is the 250th anniversary of the USA. Who knows what they have in store for us, or should I say for yourselves, because I'm not in the US. On a side note, I'd pay to watch you talk, debate, interview. JT follows JC. Have you ever tried reaching out, perhaps just a casual talk about how you both interpret what is happening in the world, JC through SLS lens and you through yours? Just an idea. No, I mean, I did just recently, after hearing him on a friend of mine's podcast, the Doc Brown, or I call him Justin, but from the Prometheus Lens podcast. And so I'm friends with him on Facebook now, and I'll try to reach out, but everybody in the podcast world is so busy that it's very difficult to get an interview set up, which reminds me, I'm pretty sure, not 100%, but I'm 99.9% sure that we will be interviewing Vicki Joy Anderson August 31st. It's a Sunday. It'll be recorded Sunday and uploaded Monday for our regular Monday night show. And it'll be interviewing her probably about the topics of the book that she has out right now, which is They Only Come Out at Night, which deals with sleep paralysis and all the topics surrounding that particular issue. My wife and I met her in Land Between the Lakes. That's actually where we met Justin from Prometheus Lens as well. And it was I wish I could have met Doug Hamp there too. He did his presentation over television broadcast. So we didn't get to meet him in person. But it was a good time. We had a good time. We met a lot of really cool people. And I thank Camp Herman for that, because they put that and the Mound thing that my wife and I went to, where we met some really great people who I still want to have come on my show. And they really send great info to me and are interested in doing something that I posted on my YouTube channel. I put a post there. And I think what I'll do is next video I do Friday night, I'm going to put their info up on the screen on that. And if anybody is interested in getting together for some local Tennessee stuff, for anybody who's listening who lives anywhere near Tennessee, you might be interested in what they have to offer. But I'll go over that more in our top 3 stories of the week coming up Friday. All right, so our good friend Rebecca comments on the email bag and scrolls from last week, where gravity fails, sorcery returns, and megastructure mysteries. Um, she says here, I've been studying the subterranean world under our feet, and it seems the people who are living there are the serpent's bloodline. Uh, Azazel was cast into a deep dark pit in Enoch 2:8. In 2 Peter 2, other fallen angels were imprisoned there. Although they can't leave, Hopi legend says their people were taken down into the earth to preserve them from a cataclysm. They became their slaves and mixed with their bloodline, and bringing forth children who could shapeshift and go between the two worlds freely. Other cultures have stories of individuals being lured to their subterranean world to mate with for bringing forth these little children who can do their bidding up on the top on the surface. The Hopis escaped at one point, coming up through a hole in the Grand Canyon. This place is considered sacred to them and is off limits to other people. Yes, I've actually read many of similar tales too, and that would not surprise me at all. If you recall, one of the reasons the Lord had Israel wipe out groups like the Amalekites is because they were capable, because of their association with mixed bloodlines, deluded or not, they still had the ability to engage in sorcery and shape-shifting, which is why the Lord said to kill every man, woman, child, and all of their livestock, because there's no telling whether or not those people could have shape-shifted into the livestock to get away. And I know that sounds fantastical to this generation, but if you read the writings of ancient people, they weren't dumb. All you have to do is look at their megalithic structures to see that there was an advanced society back then. So it's not that they were dumb. It's just when they were writing about such things as if it was commonplace, it's because it was, and it's not now. And one of the reasons it's not so commonplace now is because of what Jesus did on the cross. And now the Holy Spirit dwells in Christians like a temple, and it restrains their evil and lawlessness. And because of the laws of heaven, that the watchers and God's enemies, whatever rebellious angels, whatever you want to call them, we'll just call them rebellious angels, because it's not just one distinct group of angels. You could have, seraphim, cherubim, any number of them that might have rebelled. Not all angels are 100% the same, right? There's different looking ones, different kinds, some with different jobs, just like us. And so I would say when you mate these different types of angelic beings with humans, you're also going to get different outcomes. I think many of the seraphim who had a more serpent-like appearance, they, from legends I've read, they could also shapeshift into dragons or serpent-like creatures. Some of their offspring were half human, half serpent, like the Nagas in Eastern culture. I think most of them settled into the regions of Asia and China initially, which is why there's so much dragon, serpent, and whatever worship in those regions is because of this. And I do believe that during the flood and even afterwards, many of them had to hide underground, because it seems like if you read Gary Wayne's works, his first and second book on the Genesis 6 conspiracy, you discover that, and I can't go into all the detail here because I don't have notes on it. And unlike some other hosts, I have to refer on to notes. I can't remember everything because I don't necessarily focus on any one particular subject other than the seed war, and that entails many different subjects, and oftentimes I have to refer to my notes. But I would say that many of them went underground even before the flood, knowing the flood was coming. There were twin giant brothers that were warned in their dreams, and that was a pretty decent time before the flood ever took place. It wasn't just Noah that was warned. Many of them had visions and knew something bad was coming, and I think they prepared for it. And when you read Genesis, it says everything on the surface of the earth that had the breath of life in its lungs. So, and it phrases it in certain ways specifically. So there is a chance that they survived underground. I would say probably not many of them, and I think a lot of them were hunted to extinction. You look at the wars in the Old Testament, most of them, like Jericho. Jericho was most likely a group of giants living in a walled place, probably with these giant walls. And most of the wars that David had and Joshua and Caleb were killing giants. Remember, the 12 spies went through the land and said, it's filled, we're like grasshoppers, and there's giants. But, Joshua and Caleb were like, well, we can take them, just like David. They were ready. So, more power to them, right? Could you imagine seeing something anywhere from 8 to 10 feet to 15 to 20 feet taller than you? And you're like, oh, yeah, we can take them. But the reason they knew they felt that is because they believed the promise of God. That land was going to be theirs. So if God said, go in there and take it, then they were going to be able to do it. Not that it would be easy, but they were going to succeed because God said they would, right? To me, that's faith, believing God and that he's a good God and he delivers on his promises. I don't think faith is just believing God exists, because it's so obvious to me that he does, that even Scripture says the fool has said in his heart there is no God. You look at creation and there's no way this came about by random circumstance or chance. You can do your very best to explain it via science, but when you really critically examine it, it breaks down. So, and maybe we'll do some apologetic episodes on that so that people who may not know these things can have their faith strengthened and increased. I wouldn't do apologetics to get you to believe in God, although I think that is one of the ways that the Holy Spirit can use to draw somebody to God. I mean, you look at the way that the Lord witnessed to some of the Gentiles. When he was witnessing to the Jews, he just used Scripture. But oftentimes when he was talking to Gentiles, he would reference nature around him, use the natural world. So you got to meet people where they are sometimes. No point in using the Bible necessarily right away with somebody who doesn't even believe it's real. First, sometimes we have to go into their world, right, and explain from their own world that there's a God. All right, and Rebecca on the markets collapse, top 3. I love that you're not afraid to tell the truth. So refreshing. I love your humility and the dedication you have to the word. Thank you. Well, thank you. I never feel that way about myself. So I appreciate the encouraging words. I am not afraid, but sometimes it gets me shadow banned. But it is what it is. You can help out the shadow banning by thumbs upping, liking, sharing, commenting, sharing it as much as possible, gets it out despite their best efforts to try to throttle such things back so that not as many people see it. And Annie, who gave me the Damascus is Still a City, I'm homesick for heaven, so am I. It's part of the reason I even use this for the name of our band and for the name of the podcast, because we are pilgrims in this world. We're not a part of this whole black-white, balance that the Masons, I've explained this before, but that's why I chose gray. We are pilgrims not of this world. We are just walking through it. We're really citizens of heaven, ambassadors left here to carry out God's purpose until we're called home, right? So let's just all make sure we're doing our parts, no matter how small, right? All right, and Rick Shotgun? Okay. Oh, anyway, He says that when Jesus started his ministry here on earth, he chose a bunch of nobodies to be his disciples. Just regular, ordinary people, instead of choosing from Pharisees and other religious teachers with higher intellect during their time. Fast forward to today, I notice that true wisdom is again being given to a bunch of nobodies from God. They make more sense when it comes to teaching God's word compared to those people with the title of pastor or those that authored a lot of best-selling books about theology and eschatology. Anyone noticing a pattern? Yes, God often uses the simple things of this world that people mock or make fun of or think nothing of, and elevates them, not necessarily them, but elevates the situations they're in to show that it's him, and he can use anyone because he's God, right? And so often if you use somebody who's already, you know, big in the eyes of the world, then it's more likely that person will attribute it to themselves. Not always, but you know what I mean. And so yes, I do recognize those kind of patterns, and I do know exactly what you're talking about. And if that's meant as a backhanded compliment, then thank you, and I super appreciate you listening to the show. I'm thankful for anybody. Look, I know how busy life is. I really do. Between doing the show, working on an album, working on my novel, working 50 plus hours a week, loving my wife, taking care of goats, grandbabies, 2 cats, 3 dogs, and our farm and all this other stuff. Just the fact that you all have busy lives too, and you take time out of your life to listen to the show and comment, I'm very grateful for, and I appreciate it. And that's why I say the more the merrier. That's one of the reasons I'm going to do the Facebook group, is because I think it'll help everything to grow, and maybe we can get even more people in so they can listen to the show. And you can bounce ideas off one another. I think that would be great. All right, so Leroy, welcome back. And Leroy comments on the What You Sent Us, Gravity Fails, Sorcery Returns, and Megastructure Mystery, our top 3, one of our top 3 videos from Friday. He says, echo aside, none of your video clips came through either. Only thing shown is the still of a wizard. Well, that is because all videos are done to Rumble. So go check out the Rumble. And the reason I'm doing that is because I am tagged by YouTube for some of this. You guys don't see it, but I get messages from YouTube, and it says, either I have a strike for this or that. So I'm slowly transitioning over to Rumble. I'm not going to give up on YouTube. I have almost 100,000 followers. So I don't want to just dismiss it, but I have to be so careful about what I show on YouTube because they are so restrictive of what you can and can't say or show. So unless you're doing a show about where you put kids' Legos together or review toys, you just got to be so careful about what you say. This is why people make up words for certain words that get you in trouble, because their algorithm picks up on certain things that you say. And I don't like having to live that way. But I also know that many of you hang out on YouTube, so I want to keep that there. So if you want to actually watch the video, then you can go to the anyway. Either way, definitely, Leroy, apologize for the echo issue. I wish I had more time to make sure that things are operating at 100%. I just expected it to operate like it said it was going to, and it did not. And I should have tested it first. And I did actually test some things, and it seemed to be working. So I just went ahead with it. But I didn't test everything because it seemed like everything was going well. But then, I uploaded it, and the next day I was listening to the recording, and I was like, oh, crap it. we got that stupid echo. But anyway, I have since solved it, and hopefully it will never pop and rear its ugly head up again. um, anyway, Rumble, and I'll put the link in the show episode description. All right, so Beryl, well, first of all, welcome to the show. I've not seen you comment before. Says, I would love to have her on the show. I don't like social media, but I've learned so much from Brave Voices. Huh. I'm not sure which person you're referencing. That was in response to God's Sky Clock. I may have mentioned somebody in that show. If you could, and if you're listening, Beryl, please just let me know who you're referencing, and I'll see if I can get that person on the show. Like I mentioned earlier, it is difficult to get people on the show. You know, I'm not super well known everywhere yet, and so people have to, with their time, and oftentimes they're authors of books, they want to go where they can make best use of their time. So once the show grows a bit more, I might be able to get more guests on, and that would be great. I don't necessarily have to have people on interview, but I do enjoy interviewing people because I like learning from people. And I'm really excited to possibly have Vicki Joy Anderson on because I think she always presents very well, and she always does a good job with her research. Always. I've never seen her do a bad job on what she's researching. I'm usually learning and having to take notes just on things I want to look up because I learn new things from her. All right, so Rebecca again. Though I am a 70-year-old grandma, it seems we were cut from the same cloth. I, too, had to get away from the city and have been transforming our 5 acres of dry saline soil into a miniature Garden of Eden. That's cool. I have chickens and goats that I milk, make yogurt and cheese from it, and study herbal medicine. You know, that's really great. We just recently got a book. I can't remember the Australian lady, or maybe she's from New Zealand, and now I can't remember the name of the book. I know it's white, and I just bought it recently, and I remember thinking, gosh, this book's almost $50. But it's filled with herbal remedies and things from the natural world. And sometimes when I look at everything she did and how she passed away, it makes me wonder if they intentionally got rid of her, you know, because she was giving out so much good information. If you can remember her name, drop it in the comments of tonight's show. But I just can't remember her name. Anyway, I've got her book and got some of her supplements because they're good. Anyway, to continue, I believe living close to the land is a divine calling and the way of life that I love. I have good health, but there's one weed I'm allergic to. You guessed it, ragweed. Yes, I'm even struggling with it tonight. It bothers my eyes, my throat. It upsets my stomach, makes me feel fatigued. Sometimes I feel like I've been drugged at night because of ragweed, where it's like I took NyQuil, but I didn't take anything. I'm just, ragweed and sometimes pine pollen just destroys me at times. Not always, but because I almost never use sugar anymore. I'm usually taking some sort of honey to sweeten my coffee, which takes a bit of the bitterness out. But I've even stopped drinking any caffeine with my coffee, mostly because of blood pressure, but also because caffeine dehydrates and leaches minerals and things out of your body. It's just not good for you. Maybe I'll even do a show upcoming here soon where we can go over that, because part of the seed war is they are, you know, poisoning us and making us unhealthy. And we should go over that at some point, I think, because it would be very helpful. It's one little fight that you can win in your own home by paying attention to what you put in your body and what you don't put in your body. All right, so the Truth Puzzle Life again. I appreciate you commenting more than once. That's really cool. The more comments, like I said, the more this gets out there. So wherever you're listening, if it's YouTube, it's Spotify, it's Apple, it's Spreaker, please leave a comment or a 5-star review or share it someplace. Like, don't just share it anywhere because that's obnoxious, right? People don't just want to, something thrown in their face. But if you are looking at a similar topic or something, or on a Friday episode we've brought it up as our top 3, or just any video that we've done here, if you happen to notice that there's something there that makes sense for you to comment and put that one of our videos out there as your comment and to say, I think you should probably watch this. This deals with whatever. I know a lot of people frown upon that. Like, well, I just want to hear what you have to say about it. I don't watch some stupid video. Well, so leave a short comment then, and then to say, if you want far more details on it, watch the video. And that way it's a win-win for everybody, right? So this is in response to the Earth isn't spinning, but our inboxes are. Yeah. And it says, one of the biggest things for me about living on a flat biblical Earth is the North Star, the dog star. The stars rotate around the Earth still, like when God set them in the sky for us since the beginning for signs and seasons. Too many reasons for me to believe anything but flat Earth. I prefer true Earth or biblical Earth, but I get it. And if you have not seen our 3-part Mazzaroth, there's like almost 6 hours with the material of how we went over God's sky clock, how it works. And you're right. It's a mystery to me how anybody could think that, these planets, if you want to call them that, are circling around, and all the stars circling around the North Star, and yet somehow they're also orbiting the sun. How does that work? I mean, maybe I'm just ignorant. I don't know, but I look at the pattern of how they circle Polaris, but how can you orbit around Polaris and yet also be orbiting the sun at the same time and never move out of your positions of the sky, right? And it's funny that, that we mentioned this, because one of the things emailed to me tonight has to do with the stars and some alignment in our beautiful sky. Let me see if I can find it here. It's not this one. Well, what have I done with it? Come on. Let's get to it. I think it's this one. Yes. So in this, we have, this is something somebody sent in to me from X. I get a lot of stuff from X. I don't know if you know it, but we have a Twitter account where I sometimes post things and that I find interesting, that I think you would find interesting. And people send me things. And so this one says, does anyone remember the 2017 Revelation 12 sign? Well, the interstellar object 31, this is the one that everybody is saying is a possibly 7-mile long, they call it an interstellar object, but there have been some claiming that because it is propelling itself with no comet trail, that it is some sort of craft that will be here this fall at some point. But anyway, so it says that was just discovered moves into the same womb of Virgo on September 23rd on Rosh Hashanah, the feast where no one knows the day or hour. What did Jesus say? He said, look up. It's always good to watch, right? Be watching the sky above. Look up, for your redemption draws nigh. And the one he's referring to is Revelation 12, 1 and 2, where it says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in pain to be delivered. So here is an outline of it, and this is obviously referencing See, right here, all these stars over the head. It's referencing signs in the heavens and stars and constellations and such. See? And this thing is going to be moving right through here, like it's coming right through the birth canal. So that's kind of interesting. Who knows what it may mean? I don't pretend to know everything. And could it be some sort of significant sign? We'll see this fall, right? I was expecting even more craziness in 2025, but maybe it's all just saving it for the fall and winter. So one of my greatest concerns for 2025 was the Deagle report, where massive population drop-offs were supposed to occur, and the year is not finished. So who knows? Maybe this will be the winter of death for all of those who, got pricked in 2020, right? I can't elaborate because I'll get a strike. So you know what I'm referencing. So let's go to the next thing sent in here. This fascinating thing from Jay Anderson, who I follow, and apparently another listener follows, because this was sent to me. But it's this, and Jay says, why the ancient obsession with false doorways? He says that he recorded this in Malta at the prehistoric megalithic complex called Haltarxien. I'm not sure that that's how it's pronounced, but it's spelled Tarxien. Could be Tarzan, I don't know. We find multi-layered doorways like this, both large-scale and small designs, all over the prehistoric world. Why? And I think this guy here, Drew Ponder, kind of nails it. I'm just going to do the too long didn't read because it's a long article thing he puts in here. But he says false doors were never symbolic. They were scalar tuning forks for contact. And I think he's correct, because it has to do with sound wave frequency and electromagnetic fields. And that in the old world somehow opened portals that I think are currently being restrained to some degree. So here, the too long didn't read says the false doorways found at the Haltarxien and across prehistoric sites are resonant phase portals, scalar frequency tuning cavities, not symbolic decor. Frequency wave theory shows they are engineered to interact with consciousness, infrasound, and localized geomagnetic currents to trigger waveform transitions, either for contact, healing, or dimensional interfacing. They are not false doors. They are frequency gates. And I believe that's the case because I've seen the artwork, and probably some of you have as well, where you have the swirlies. There's the swirlies sometimes around these door frames like this in drawings on walls, and there's beings that stand on either side of it that don't look human, or they look strange. So maybe we'll do a show on that at some point, where we can show these portals and these drawings and what they have in common in these sort of strange things like this. But that conjecture, or what this person was saying here, I think is likely correct, that that's what it's about. And so we also have, well, this is not it. Why is this like this? It should not be like this. Well, apologies on this one, because I'm watching this for the first time right here with you, because I don't even know what this is. Bible from 1959 reveals the earth shape is not what we think. Well, I already know that it's not what we were programmed to believe from the get-go. Oh, yes, I've seen that. With the dome and the under-earth, and this is, whether we like it or not, this is what biblical cosmology describes right here. The dome, the firmament, ether, the earth, and these Now, these mountains are somewhat of an exaggeration for scale, I guess, but really Antarctica is a great circuit. If you also look, it's the highest point consistently on average on the planet above sea level is the Antarctic continent, which I believe encircles the whole Earth and contains the waters. And then, of course, we have this, which is supposed to symbolize the abyss. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but let's see if... well, I really don't understand what happened there. I had a different reel set up, and so, well, that's a darn shame. You know what? I think, and apologies if for whatever reason this, it should have been this one right here, and I want you to hear this one and see it. And so I will do some finagling here. Copy. Bam. And boom. And let's see if this worked. Yep, here we go.
AKA a demonic judgment is extremely biblical. We just don't know what we're looking for in the text. Let me explain, but first watch this.
In Luke 21:11, Jesus makes this mysterious statement, which theologians, even Greek translators, they haven't dared to translate because it's just so weird. And in that verse, Jesus said at the very end of the age, there would be great sights from the heavens, and there would be fearful sights. Well, my specialty is Greek. And when Jesus said there will be great sights from the heavens, the word from is the word apo, and in Greek it describes things descending out of the heavens. So Jesus didn't tell us what it was, but he said at the end of the age, people will begin to see things coming out of the heavens. Then he said, fearful sights. And in Greek, that is the word phobotron. It's a derivative of the word phobos, which means fear. But when it becomes phobotron, the Greeks only use that word one way and no other way. It is the word for monsters. And that is a literal translation. And that's why translators never translate it right. They couldn't understand what this monster thing was. So when you put it together, Jesus said at the end of the age, people are going to see things, apo, descending directly out of the heavens, and there's going to be the appearance of monsters in the end of the age. Well, that's what was going on before the flood. Exactly.
So when you start looking at religious art, you'll notice two things. The harlot of Babylon, who we've been talking about, is actually Artemis, Diana, an alien invasion.
Anyway, somebody sent me that from Kayla Hodges. I don't know if you're familiar with who she is, but I thought that was interesting because it's pretty much the contention that I have espoused. You know, strange things walked amongst us in the pre-flood world and also afterwards. This advanced race of both human hybrids and their parents helping them build structures to try to persuade humanity to join together in global governance and resist Yahweh. They've done it many times. At Babel, they were trying to do it by uniting all the Ites tribes, the Canaanites, the Amalekites, in the land of Canaan, attempting a global governance there again. But each time God allows it to go on for a bit and then puts it down when it gets out of control, to level the playing field, because I think these rebellious angels knew that if they had offspring with human, they could steal our birthright with a hybrid creature that was human enough to be able to claim the legal rights to this earth that they want for whatever reason. They must really like it because they all sang for joy initially when it was created, right? And now they want it for their own, repurposed in their own ideas, right? That's why they changed everything in the pre-flood world. Animals, humans, and hardly anything was left on the planet. I think that's one of the reasons that God himself guided the animals to the ark and brought them, because he knew what animals were clean still and which weren't, and he knew what one family on earth was still clean and not genetically corrupted. The angels were busy changing everything, just like they're doing right now. Our food supply, everything. Humans, all of it. So be careful what you put in your body. That's all I'm saying. And our last one, kaboom. This one here that has to do with the Amish, and I thought it was a really great story because these people are phenomenal. They don't take certain things that are requirements to go to school, which I think there's some 52 now over the lifetime of a child's life. Between 30 and 50, that's all I know. I remember when I was a kid, I only had to get like 3. And even my son, I think, only had to have a 3. And if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I knew now, I would never have done it, and I would have homeschooled if I had to. So here we go with this. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's stuff that you inject into your body that you don't really know what it is. They tell you what it is, but you'd have no idea. And if you were to look at the ingredients, you wouldn't know what half of them were. And I just think it's foolish when you take into account the idea that they're the third leading cause of death in this country. And if you were to take other things into account, I think you would find they're the leading cause of death. And it all has to do with money. They get money for pushing that stuff to stay in business. And maybe that's what they tell themselves to make it okay, but it's not okay. It's pharmakia, and I don't trust the medical profession any longer for that reason. They always want to medicate because there's huge money in it, and I don't think it's good for us. But even beyond that, there's other things. But anyway, let's give her a listen.
It lives rent-free in my head that the Amish went down to North Carolina almost a year ago to help rebuild Chimney Rock after it was decimated by Hurricane Helene. And those same Amish are still there today, almost a year later. No one is paying them. They're not calling in newspapers to ask for press. They're not asking for anyone to tell them, good job, good on you. They are just still there. They have not left yet. And so many of the locals down there have said it would not look anything like it does today without the help from the Amish. Many of them have commutes of multiple hours to make it to this section of North Carolina every day, and they're still doing it. And I just think about if you compare that to our non-Amish society, I don't really know anybody who would be doing that a year later for free, just rebuilding another town. There's so much that can be said for that. A, because they function as a community, the Amish, so if some people need to step away to help rebuild part of the community, they will still be taken care of financially. But honestly, it comes down to like an integrity or a divine thing, since these people are people of God. They do believe in doing what's right and what's good. I don't know about you, but that is majorly lacking in the non-Amish world I am in. It just lives rent-free in my head that these people are still there, and they're not leaving. They're not leaving until this is completed and this is finished. They did a better job than FEMA and everyone else at the government, and they're still freaking there.
And there you have it. I mean, how cool is that? Nothing but respect for those folks. And that is it, folks, for our Wednesday night. Great having you all here by the fire in the inn. It's raining outside, but it's nice and warm on the inside with you all. Godspeed for the rest of the week, and we will see you all Friday night.
It's time for listener emails, comments, and stuff they send in. So kick back and listen, it'll make you grin. Every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, yeah. descending.